You match with someone on an app, text for a week, meet for coffee, and call it a spark. 40,000 years ago, falling in love could take a lifetime to prove, and if you got it wrong, it could get you killed. There was no swiping left. There was no plan B. If you picked the wrong person or the wrong person's family, you might not survive the winter. So how did it actually happen? How did a species with no words for romance, no rings, no wedding dresses, figure out how to pair off and stay together for life? The answer is stranger, slower, and more physical than anything you'd guess. Let's start with the body, because before there was romance, there was chemistry, literally. Around the same time humans were developing bigger brains, we were also developing something else. Monogamous-leaning pair bonding, which is rare in the animal kingdom. Most mammals don't do it. Lions don't. Chimpanzees, our closest relatives, don't. But humans at least partially do. And the reason seems to come down to a hormone called oxytocin. It spikes during touch, during eye contact, during childbirth, and during sex. It's the same chemical that bonds a mother to a newborn, and evolution appears to have repurposed it to bond two adults to each other. Falling in love, biologically, might just be your brain hijacking a parenting chemical and pointing it at a mate. But why would evolution bother? Here's the leading theory. Human babies are born catastrophically helpless. A baby zebra can run within hours. A human baby can't even hold up its own head. Our brains got so big that we had to be born early, unfinished, just so our skulls could fit through the birth canal. That means human infants need years of intense care before they can survive alone. A mother trying to do that by herself, while also finding food, while also avoiding predators, is in serious trouble. She needed a partner, someone to help provision, someone to help defend. Pair bonding wasn't romantic. It was a survival strategy that got a chemical reward wired on top of it, and the reward is what we now call love. So what did dating actually look like? Archaeologists have found something remarkable at burial sites across Europe and Asia. Double burials, two skeletons, arms wrapped around each other, buried in the same grave at the same time. One of the most famous is in Mantua, Italy, a pair of skeletons from roughly 6,000 years ago, locked in an embrace, facing each other nose to nose. Archaeologists nicknamed them the lovers of Valdero. We don't know if they died together or were buried together after death, but someone made a deliberate choice to place these two people in that exact position forever. That's not an accident. That's a statement. Then there's Sunghir, a site in Russia dated to roughly 34,000 years ago, where archaeologists found two adolescents buried head to head, covered in thousands of painstakingly carved mammoth ivory beads. Each bead could take an hour to make. There are enough beads at that site to represent tens of thousands of hours of labor, poured into honoring two young people at their burial. Somebody, or some entire group, loved these two enough to spend a staggering amount of collective time making sure they went into the ground surrounded by wealth and beauty. Jewelry itself might be one of the oldest signs of courtship we have. At Blombos Cave in South Africa, researchers found shell beads deliberately pierced and strung, dating back roughly 75,000 years. Ochre-stained, threaded, worn against skin. Nobody needs a necklace to survive. A necklace exists to be seen. It says something about the wearer and, more importantly, about who gave it to them. Long before diamonds, a strand of shells was already doing the same emotional job. I chose you and I want people to know it. Courtship also had a soundtrack. Anthropologists studying modern hunter-gatherer groups have documented something called antiphonal singing, call and response songs performed between men and women, sometimes explicitly used as flirtation. Among the Hadza of Tanzania and other groups, dancing and singing at night around the fire doubles as a mating ground. It's not hard to imagine that thousands of generations ago, the same thing was happening. Fire didn't just cook food and scare off predators, it lit the world's first dance floor. Marriage in the modern legal sense didn't exist yet, but something like it clearly did. Genetic studies of ancient populations show that most early human groups practiced exogamy, meaning people didn't pair up with someone from their own small band. They found partners from neighboring groups. This wasn't romantic wandering, it was strategy. A marriage between two bands created an alliance, a trade partner, a place to run to if your own territory failed. Falling in love with an outsider might have quite literally saved your entire community. The heart, it turns out, was doing diplomatic work, and once a pair bonded, the evidence suggests they stayed close, sometimes literally. Isotope analysis on ancient bones, which can reveal what someone ate and where they grew up, has shown that in some ancient burials, partners buried together often came from different regions, meaning one of them had traveled sometimes very far to be with the other. Love, it seems, has always been worth the walk. So the next time you're staring at a phone, waiting for a reply, remember what this used to cost. Somewhere, tens of thousands of years ago, a person carved a bead for hours by firelight, walked for days across unfamiliar territory, and staked their entire survival on choosing the right person. They didn't have a word for love. They just had a fire, a necklace, and a choice that mattered more than almost anything else they'd ever make.